As you know, I met with President Trump and Vice President Pence yesterday. We had a very, very productive discussion about our agenda, including health care, tax reform, rebuilding our military, securing the border. The President is eager to get moving on this agenda, and so are we. Already, we have hit the ground running, taking the first steps to keep our promise to repeal and replace Obamacare. As I mentioned before, this is going to be a step-by-step approach. And one of those steps that is necessary is getting Tom Price confirmed as HHS Secretary. Not only is Dr. Price extremely qualified, but with so many Americans struggling under Obamacare, with the current collapse of Obamacare, we need Dr. Price in place to help deliver relief and stability. It would be irresponsible for Senate Democrats to needlessly delay his confirmation. With this unified Republican government, we have a unique opportunity to deliver results for the American people. And in the days and weeks, we look forward to laying out more of our agenda. To that end, today I'm inviting President Trump to address a joint session of Congress on February the 28th. This will be an opportunity for the people and their representatives to hear directly from our new president about his vision and our shared agenda. This is an ambitious agenda, and rightly so. For too long, Washington has been too timid about addressing the big challenges facing our country. We want this to be a bold government. We want this to be a government of action. We want this to be a government of solutions, and a government unified not just by party, but by a commitment to restore self-government and to get our country back on track. And so we look forward to welcoming the president to the Capitol next week. I'll go this way.
Next month.
Next month, thank you. Next month. Hi, Rick. He comes every day.
You know what he meant. He said the date earlier. This is only the second time since World War II, only two other times since World War II, have Republicans had the House, the Senate majority, and the presidency. We understand what the American people have entrusted in us. And I believe yesterday was the right start, where the president invited the House, the Senate, the Republicans, and the Democrats together. It was a start to build the relationship. We talked about the challenges. We talked about the failing system of Obamacare. People talked about, do you just allow the system to fail? No, because the American people, you've got to give them relief. You have to give them a rescue and something much better. You have to have growth for tax reform. And we also talked about infrastructure. I think it was a very good start on a first day. But we weren't the only individuals down at the White House. He had business leaders. He had union leaders. I think that's what you'll see from this administration, bringing others in all across America to have different voices, collaborating together to find a solution at the end of the day. It was a very good first start. Inside the House, we're beginning to work. One, you look at all the regulations that the past administration passed. A lot of people have not written about it. But since the day of the election, the Obama administration had issued 38 major rules. That includes over $41 billion in regulatory costs. Come January 30th, Congressional Review Acts will be privileged. You will see, starting January 30th, 2 weeks on, a number of bills continuing to move to bring relief to the American public and business when it comes to regulatory reform. Yield back.
It was encouraging to see President Trump get to work on day one, rolling up his sleeves, to fulfill the promises that he made to the American people when he was elected, to protect American jobs, to focus on getting people back to work in this country, to focus on protecting life, one of our most fundamental frameworks of our Constitution and our founding of our nation. It was encouraging to see the president start restoring our national security and our strength in the world. So when you look at what he's already done, just here as we start day 5 of the President Trump administration, he's already gotten to work to go and fight for the American people and be their voice. And it's refreshing to see somebody actually fulfilling the promises that they made. When you look at what we're going to be doing on the House floor today, making permanent the Hyde Amendment. This is a bill by Chris Smith, something that so many of us have fought for. But if you go back and look for the 40 years plus that the Hyde Amendment has been in place, peer-reviewed studies have showed that 2 million American lives have been saved by the Hyde Amendment. And so making it permanent is not just important for the moral fabric of our country, but you'll see millions more lives saved by us taking this important action. And I want to applaud President Trump for reinstating the Mexico City policy. Whether Americans are pro-life or pro-choice, independent studies show about 80% of Americans think it's wrong to use taxpayer money to promote abortion around the world. So I thought that was an important step that President Trump took, again, already within his first few days, to protect life, to protect jobs, and to fulfill the promises that the American people elected him to carry through on.
Mimi Walters just said it. An inauguration is a time of new beginnings. It's a time to cherish the peaceful transfer of power and the fresh start that comes with it. And with this unified Republican government, we have a chance. We have a moment to rethink the way things are done in D.C., to be hopeful, to be optimistic, and to look forward, not backward. The Republicans are about hitting the ground running. And whether it's the aggressive schedule that we have over the next few weeks and months, or even the aggressive schedule that we have for the retreat later on this week in Philadelphia, very proud that the Republicans are coming together, House and Senate. It's the third consecutive year in a row that we're having a joint retreat. We are doing the hard work of collaborating, coordinating, putting our ideas into motion, whether it's on healthcare, tax reform, or reining in top-down government. I believe it is important that we hold these retreats because at the end of the day, it does come down to teamwork. And few people know this better than former Army Major Scotty Smiley. He's a hometown hero from Eastern Washington, and I'm proud to say that he'll be joining us at the retreat this year. He was blinded by a suicide bomber in Iraq. And when I learned about his story, I thought, we need to have him come to the retreat and help inspire us as we head to Philadelphia. Because even through his tragedy and life-changing story, he's making a huge impact on this world. And I think about his determination, his vision of service before self. And it's something that we all need to hear. And we need to get to work on restoring the people's voice in this government.
Anybody have any questions?
I want to ask you about the president's infrastructure priorities and what size package you would be comfortable with, but also when you met with him last night, he again asserted that he would have won the popular vote if it weren't for 3 to 5 million illegal votes. Did you feel the need to correct him, and does it trouble you that he continues to hold a belief like this that isn't based in fact?
Look, I've already commented on that. I've seen no evidence to that effect, and I've made that very, very clear. On the infrastructure question, this is something that we will figure out in our spring budget. We will have to carve out the fiscal space necessary for the infrastructure package. We discussed that among many other things last night about our agenda for the first 200 days, and infrastructure is clearly going to be a part of that. And the size of the package will be determined by the fiscal space we create in our spring budget, which means we don't know the answer to that question yet. But our goal is to leverage as much as possible. And our goal is to leverage not just roads and bridges, but pipelines and FAA reauthorization and so many other things. So, infrastructure involves many different aspects that will create jobs in this country. And so we want to be as expansive as we possibly can with respect to infrastructure.
But do you worry that it's going to be hard to work with a president who believes certain
Look,
things that just aren't?
I'm a policy guy. I'm going to sit here and focus on policy, and I'm not going to get into the puts and the takes on all of these things. Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, along the idea of policy, yesterday the president told business leaders that if they have either sent jobs overseas or will send jobs overseas, it isn't very clear, it seems, what would be the defining line there, that they would face a 35% border tax, as he called it, for importing goods back in, or importing goods into the United States. What's your feeling about that?
Well, there's a difference between a tariff and border taxes, so I'm not sure if you're getting the phrase correct. But we believe that comprehensive tax reform is going to solve this problem in many ways. So as a former chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, I can clearly tell you that the current tax system we have incentivizes businesses to go overseas. It encourages businesses to leave America and to outsource. We don't want to keep encouraging that. We want to have a tax system built for growth. We want to have a tax system that makes it clearly more preferable for a business to locate their business and their manufacturing in America. So right now, the tax system says, move overseas and re-import back into America. That's what our current tax system incentivizes. We want to get away from that. And so we do believe that a border tax on the border, which is what all our competitors do. Just don't forget the fact that most of the other countries in the other industrialized nations remove the tax off their exports and place a tax on their imports. We do the opposite. We tax our exports and do not tax our imports. And so all we're doing is putting ourselves at a more level competitive playing field so that American businesses and American jobs can compete. If we as American workers and American businesses are putting ourselves on a level competitive playing field, we're going to do great. And that is not what our current tax system is today. Now, no, it isn't. Tariffs are different than border taxes. Tariffs are something that the administration, as you may know, has unilateral authority to do. Fiscal policy, as run by Congress in the tax code, is tax reform. And we want tax reform that works for American businesses, American jobs, and we want to look. I can't tell you how many hearings we've had at Ways and Means where we see all these businesses just leaving the country. And we lost our biggest employer, biggest company in Wisconsin, Johnson Controls, is now an Irish company. Miller is an Irish company. I mean, I don't know, they're Belgian, I think. We're losing our seed corn, and so we've got to fix this tax system, which is pushing jobs and businesses overseas, and this is something that we think is clearly going to get our system reset so that American jobs and American businesses and American companies stay in this country and produce more economic growth and jobs. Yeah. It is. We've been working off of that. That's been our blueprint. We're working off the blueprint here in the House, and it is that blueprint is revenue neutral. It's designed to be revenue neutral, and that's what we're working off of. Thank you. Appreciate it.